Hey there, welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling when you're just drowning in a sea of information? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, today we're grabbing a life raft. We're going to dive into the very first step of making sense of all that data, something called descriptive statistics.
So just how much data are we actually talking about here? Every single day, we humans generate 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. That is a 2.5 followed by 18 zeros. It's just a staggering amount. It's streaming from our phones, our cars, our social media, even our refrigerators. It's an absolute tidal wave of information.
And here's the thing. This data isn't just sitting on a server somewhere collecting dust. Nope, it's actively shaping our world. I mean, think about it for a second. The search results that Google gives you, the friends that pop up in your social media feed, the movies Netflix just knows you're going to love, it's all powered by analyzing these massive, massive data sets.
Okay, so with this chaos of data flying all around us, how in the world do we begin to make any sense of it? How do you find the important signal in all of that noise? Well, the answer lies in a really cool field called data science. To see just how powerful this can be, let's talk about a classic story from Walmart. A little while back, they were analyzing their sales data and they noticed something really weird happening right before a hurricane was forecast to hit. Now, people were, of course, stocking up on the obvious stuff: batteries, water, canned goods. But the data showed a huge surprise. Sales of strawberry Pop-Tarts, they spiked by a factor of 7. That is the kind of wild insight you would never ever guess without digging deep into the numbers.
And that story, it perfectly illustrates what data science is all about. It's this art of finding those hidden patterns, those surprising connections, like hurricanes and Pop-Tarts, to help businesses, organizations, and, well, pretty much anyone make smarter, more informed decisions.
So if a data scientist is trying to uncover these hidden insights, what kind of tools are they using? A great way to think about it is that a data scientist is kind of like a detective, and their number one go-to toolkit, it's statistics. Right, so picture this. A detective arrives at a crime scene. What's the very first thing they do? They don't just start pointing fingers. They survey the area, they gather the initial clues, and they create a summary of what's going on. Data analysis works exactly the same way.
In the world of data science, that initial survey of the scene, that's called descriptive statistics. It's all about describing the basic features of your data, just to get the lay of the land before you start digging for those deeper, hidden clues.
And the absolute most fundamental, most important part of describing any data set is finding its center. It is the starting point for pretty much any data investigation you can possibly imagine. But how do you actually do that? I mean, if you have a list with thousands or heck, even millions of numbers, how do you boil all of that down to a single value that represents the whole group? How do you find what a typical value even is?
Well, to answer that, we have 3 main tools in our detective kit, and you've probably heard of them before: the mean, the median, and the mode. Each one gives us a slightly different but really valuable perspective on where the center of the data really is.
So let's start with the one we're all pretty familiar with, the mean. This is what most of us just call the average, and it's a super powerful and really common way to find the center of a bunch of numbers.
And calculating it is about as straightforward as it gets. You just add up all the values in your list, and then you divide that big sum by how many numbers you just added up. So for example, if you have the numbers 3, 5, and 7, you add them up to get 15, divide by 3, and your mean is 5. Simple as that.
But the mean isn't always the perfect tool for the job. That's where the median comes in. The median is the exact middle value after you've sorted your data from smallest to largest. This is so useful when you have a few extreme values that might mess up the average. Just think about home prices in a neighborhood with one giant mansion. The median price is going to give you a much more realistic picture of a typical home than the mean would. And then there's the mode. The mode is the simplest of all. It just tells you which value shows up most often. It's perfect for finding out, say, the most popular t-shirt size someone sells. So you see, each one is a different kind of clue for finding that center.
Okay, so finding the center of your data is a huge first step for any data detective. It's absolutely crucial. But it really is just the beginning of the story. Knowing the mean, the median, or the mode gives you a central point of gravity for your data. It's incredibly helpful, for sure, but it doesn't reveal the whole picture. It's one major clue, but trust me, there are so many more to uncover.
So the average is your starting point, right? It's your first big clue. But that just leads to more questions. How spread out is the data from that setter point? Are there other bizarre outliers like the Pop-Tarts? What other secrets is your data hiding, just waiting for a detective like you to find them?